A thin line between love and hate is often drawn in the sand, easily erased by the tides of time. This is a story about two friends, Asamoah and Obrempong. They were close until Asamoah secretly planned harm against Obrempong. Now, let me take you back to how it all started. Asamoah and Obrempong became friends at the age of 6 when they met in kindergarten. Asamoah was considered more handsome, while Obrempong was more intelligent. They often teased each other about their differences, but always stood up for each other when someone else tried to pick on them. Their friendship was so strong that people admired and envied their bond. Whenever one received a compliment for their looks or intelligence, they were genuinely happy for each other. However, things started to change when they entered primary school. Asamoah began to realize that good looks without intelligence were not enough. He confided in Obrempong, who agreed to help by tutoring him after school. They studied together, and Obrempong assisted Asamoah with assignments and various school activities. Despite his efforts, Asamoah struggled academically and eventually failed to qualify for junior high school. Out of frustration, he accused Obrempong of misleading him in his studies. Though they had a heated argument, they quickly reconciled. Asamoah decided to leave school because he felt embarrassed when Obrempong advanced 2 grades ahead of him. Despite this, their friendship remained intact. Asamoah pursued a career as a mechanic while Obrempong continued his studies and eventually became a lawyer. Both men became successful in their respective fields. Asamoah built a thriving business empire, owning multiple ventures such as real estate, transportation, large-scale farming, wholesale and retail stores, and an import-export business. On the other hand, Obrempong became one of the country's top lawyers, managing a prestigious law firm, working with major companies, and even having close ties to the president. Asamoah hired Obrempong as his lawyer. Despite Asamoah's immense wealth, he envied Obrempong's intelligence and articulate nature. Asamoah always sought to prove himself, feeling a constant need to outshine others. They traveled together and enjoyed an extravagant lifestyle, indulging in luxury and social gatherings while also being active members of their church, where they made generous donations. One day after church, a young and beautiful medical doctor named Rose approached Obrempong, impressed by his legal education presentation. They exchanged numbers, and soon after, Asamoah also introduced himself to Rose, boldly asking her on a date. Rose was taken aback by his directness and glanced at Obrempong, as she was initially more interested in him. However, Obrempong reassured her that it was fine and that Asamoah was like a brother to him, encouraging her to go on the date. Not long after, Asamoah and Rose began dating, though Rose remained friends with Obrempong. Whenever Rose had issues with Asamoah, she confided in Obrempong. Eventually, she married Asamoah, prioritizing financial security over red flags in his behavior. Rose remained closer to Obrempong than to her own husband, seeking his advice and spending more time with him. During her pregnancy, Obrempong was the one who accompanied her to medical appointments, shopping trips, and outings. When Rose gave birth to a baby girl, Asamoah began giving her more attention. Meanwhile, Obrempong married a woman named Adepa, and the couple deeply loved each other. As he focused on his marriage, Obrempong distanced himself from Rose. This only deepened Asamoah's suspicions, leading to accusations that Rose and Obrempong were involved in a secret relationship, though there was no truth to it. As Obrempong and Adepa celebrated their wedding anniversary with a grand party, an incident occurred that escalated tensions. During the event, Rose and Obrempong were absent for a few hours. This fueled Asamoah's suspicions, though they were merely planning a surprise for Adepa. Without waiting for an explanation, Asamoah angrily struck both of them. Realizing his mistake, he apologized, but it was too late. Obrempong had enough of the accusations and ended their friendship, asking Asamoah and Rose to leave his home. Despite months of apologies, Obrempong eventually forgave Asamoah, recognizing that their long history, and shared secrets made their friendship too valuable to hold on to resentment. One day, Asamoah confessed that he had been struggling with a personal health condition that prevented him from fathering children. He admitted that he had suspected Obrempong of being the father of his child, which was why he had been so harsh towards him. Obrempong was stunned by the revelation. Soon after, Asamoah was arrested for an alleged financial misconduct case. Obrempong represented him in court, but Asamoah was sentenced to 3 years in prison. A year and a half into his sentence, Asamoah started having recurring nightmares of Obrempong chasing him with dangerous objects. The dreams troubled him so much that he confided in his prison mate, Jujo, who had protected him from bullies since his arrival. Jujo listened carefully and suggested that Obrempong might have been responsible for all his troubles. Asamoah dismissed the idea, defending his friend. However, as the nightmares persisted, Asamoah began to wonder if they were a form of retribution for how he had treated Obrempong. Obrempong frequently visited Asamoah in prison with Rose and their daughter. When Asamoah asked about Adepa, Obrempong claimed she was too busy and pregnant. Later, Obrempong visited Asamoah in mourning attire and revealed that Adepa and their unborn child had passed away due to health complications. While Asamoah sympathized, he noticed that Obrempong did not seem to be grieving deeply. Jujo, who was once a lawyer, warned Asamoah that Obrempong might have played a role in his imprisonment. He pointed out that Obrempong, being an excellent lawyer, could have easily reduced Asamoah's sentence or proved his innocence. Jujo also hinted at Obrempong's past betrayals and manipulations, urging Asamoah to be cautious. Jujo introduced Asamoah to a lawyer named Ada, who agreed to go undercover and investigate Obrempong. Over time, Ada gathered shocking evidence. She discovered that Obrempong had been involved in Asamoah's fertility issues, manipulated the DNA results of his child, and had been in a secret relationship with Rose. He had also been responsible for Adepa's passing and had deliberately mishandled Asamoah's case to keep him in prison. When Asamoah saw the evidence, he collapsed from shock and suffered a mild stroke. After recovering, Ada successfully helped him and Jujo appeal their sentences, securing their early release. Upon regaining his freedom, Asamoah's first instinct was to seek revenge. However, Jujo convinced him to take a different approach. Asamoah returned home only to find Obrempong with his wife, Rose. Overwhelmed, Asamoah suffered a heart attack. A week later, he learned that Obrempong had fled the country with his family and sold most of his assets. Determined to confront him, Asamoah underwent facial surgery, changed his identity, and got a job as Obrempong's personal assistant to plot his next move. Now, do you think Asamoah should go through with his plan, or should he let go and move on? If you were in his shoes, how would you handle the situation? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for listening. Kindly subscribe for more, and a big shout out to all our new subscribers. We'd love to know where you're watching from, and be the first to share.